You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the September 11th, 2023 meeting of the Long Beach Town Council. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Okay, welcome to the September. Hello, everybody. We're going to start the meeting here with a pledge.
Yes, President.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Okay, thank you. We're going to change a little bit on the agenda. We're going to have a first reading of the budget for next year, and so it's just the first reading. The public comment, we can have any public comment today if anybody has had the chance to look at the budget. We'll take a public comment now. If none, we'll have the second reading in October, and that's at that time you have a chance. We'll have a chance to go through it, and there'll be some changes made, and it'll be with more detailed. But this is just the initial foray into the budget that's been published in Gateway. Anybody can look at it. We have some copies here if anybody wants to peruse it before. And so that's where we are with that. Any questions, anybody?
John, I would like to also, in opening comments, that we talk about the code of ethics that we incorporated this year. And so I would like to see that enforced, and that we don't have any harassment or bullying or intimidation or threats by council people or the residents.
Well, I think that goes without saying. I don't think we have to worry about that, but,
Well, we have,
well,
okay?
we
And you have.
we aren't going to tonight. Let's put it
Okay.
that way.
And the other thing is, it's not on the agenda. Please tell the chief that the volume is on low. Okay. I would like to put on I have a note back from Long Beach Civic Association with regard to the signs.
With regard to the what now?
Oh, I'm sorry. And you're here. Long Beach Civic Association got back to me. After the last meeting, because I used to be, I'm a retiree from the Long Beach Civic Association, and I asked them, just following up to see what the Long Beach Civic Association decided on helping with entry signs for the town of Long Beach. As always, we appreciate any consideration. So do you want me to say that now?
Well, as long as you got the floor, go ahead.
Oh, good. I love it, John. Thanks.
Just move
Okay.
along.
This is from the president of the Civic Association. Hi, Mary Lou. The topic was discussed at length. Because of the previous experience Civic had with the sign project, we would not be interested in managing the project. We would, however, be interested in making a monetary contribution to support the funding. Could we revisit this once the plan has been made?
That's good news.
Yeah. So that's good.
We'll push forward with that with those folks that want to be involved with that. Next item is approval of the minutes. I show here the town council meeting on May 8th, special meeting on the 23rd, town council meeting on the 10th of July. Do we have any additions, corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve them in mass.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
I second it.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is Dr. LeMay on Zoom or not?
No, not this time.
Okay. The next item is committee reports, and Chief Swistek, if you would, please.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of August, the Long Beach Police Department responded to 333 calls for service when compared to 232 calls for service in the previous year, for an increase of 101 calls for service. During the month of August, 17 incident reports were documented. A total of 9 individuals were arrested. 2 felony arrests for operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated with a previous conviction. 2 misdemeanor OWI arrests. 2 felony arrests for domestic violence. 1 misdemeanor arrest for a vehicle pursuit. 1 arrest for unlawful possession of a handgun and drug charges that occurred at Stop 24. An additional arrest for traffic violations, and the majority of the increase in calls for service were officer-initiated activity for the month of August. I would like to talk about on August 2nd and August 6th, we had 2 domestic violence situations, one in the town of Michiana Shores and the other here in the town of Long Beach. Both were concerning because they resulted in strangulation during the domestic violence occurrence, and the officers did an excellent job in mediating the situation and making the arrest and taking the individuals into custody. Then on August 24th, I know we've talked about this at some of our previous town council meetings, Deputy Matthew Farthing, who actually is on duty tonight, has been doing an exceptional job keeping an eye on Stop 24. Stop 24, for whatever reason this particular year, has been an attraction for visitors to visit our community and kind of go to watch the sunset. And on the evening of the 24th of August, a group of individuals from outside our community decided to go down onto the beach at Stop 24, were smoking marijuana, walked back to their vehicle, which was parked up top for well over an hour. Deputy Farthing had observed the vehicle earlier in the evening, came back, saw the vehicle was still there, approached the individuals as they made their way back to the vehicle, and actually recovered 2 handguns that were inside the vehicle. 2 of the 3 individuals that were present there, one has a current outstanding charge of armed robbery, and 2 out of the 3 were recently shot in incidents outside in surrounding communities as well. So it was very concerning, but Deputy Farthing did an exceptional job, recovered 2 handguns, and arrested an individual at Stop 24 that day. And in fact, over this past weekend on Midnights, we recovered another gun during a intoxicated driver arrest in the 1400 block of Lakeshore Drive. So I want to commend all of our officers. They're doing a fabulous job of having some proactive activity in the community. And what we're seeing from this particular arrest from this weekend, one individual was from Wanata, the other one was from Rensselaer. So again, visitors to our community and our staff have been doing an exceptional job recovering the guns and making the arrest. And then lastly, I would like to talk about last month, the council approved the radio reprogramming for both police and fire. You guys approved $6,000 in expenditures to have that done. Today, they started the work on both departments' emergency radios, both our portables and our in-car radios. And we weren't aware of what was the last update on the firmware update until today. We last had the radios updated at application 18. Today they updated them to 31. That's how far behind our emergency service radios were. So a big thank you to the council for supporting that. I know we were going to use the local income tax to pay for that expenditure. At this time, it looks like the cost is going to be much less than the $6,000. I'm hoping it's going to come in around $4,000 or $4,500. So again, thank you for the council supporting that. No police commission meeting for the month, and then on the town administrator side, I'll talk about a few topics as we get into the agenda. Unless there's any questions, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Tom?
Good evening. For the year-to-date, the fire department has responded to 119 calls versus 101 a year ago. We're running at a 15% increase year over year. We've had 50 fire calls versus 38 a year ago. During the month of August, we responded to 8 fire calls. On the medical side, we've responded to 69 medical calls versus 63 a year ago. During the month of August, we responded to 11. So for the whole month of August, we were called out 19 times. A number of our fire calls, as I hinted or I mentioned in July, we've had a lot of utility calls, trees down on wires. We've had gas leaks, carbon monoxide calls. They seem to be very prevalent during the summer months. Trees continue to fall in this neighborhood, and they do take down wires. So again, my plea to the community is just to be mindful when you see a tree down on a wire. Don't go walking up to the tree and expect that the wire is not live. In most cases, that wire is still live, and so please treat that with extreme caution. Call 911, and we will get the roads blocked off. So please be mindful of that. We are now operating out of the town garage and also the town center. So thank you to the street department as well as the police department for giving us an office here to run the operations of our fire department. But also we have all three of our apparatus are housed inside the town garage right now. In fact, our team is over there doing training this evening over at the town garage. And so we've been there for about a week now. So I'd like to thank all of the members of the Long Beach Fire Department over the past month and a half going through the process of cleaning and moving out of the existing fire station. It was quite an ordeal to move. I don't know how many decades of materials that were housed in that building, but it was quite an ordeal. And so thank you to everyone for their support. Mark, you mentioned the radios. Thank you very much. We've got most of our radios, I think, are programmed. We've got a few that are a different brand, and we have to go separate to the manufacturer. Last thing I'll mention is on the fire engine, which was approved a while back. We had a small team that was flown down to the facility last week to look at the final specifications before build began. It was part of the contract. We got a good look at what was going to be built. We got an estimate on the date of when this fire truck will be delivered. Expects production to be done January of 2025. We will have then the opportunity to do final review, and then the pickup will be on in February of 2025. So from a budgeting planning standpoint, when we originally set out to do this, they set our expectation that it would be about 2 years, and that's about 2 years from the time when we signed the contract. So we'll keep you posted as we get any further updates. We expect the final specifications on the truck next month, but I wanted to give you that update because I know it's part of the capital plan.
Tom, did they remediate the asbestos from the old garage and fire station? Was it
I
the
will
law?
defer that to John. You've been pretty close to the asbestos.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Did they remediate the asbestos from the old garage and fire station within the law?
Yes, there was a remediation outfit that was in there right before the demolition started.
I think it was just a minor amount too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very nominal. A little bit of mastic in the flooring and a little bit of window glazing on some of the ancient windows in the old cop garage.
Yeah, Fire Commission did meet, and I think, John, you can give a brief update on the Fire Commission. But any other questions on the fire report?
Thank you.
Okay.
John? Sorry.
I don't make a move without the vice president.
Yeah,
telling me.
good thinking.
The fire commission met. We discussed progress on the public safety building. The foundations are in. Water line is started. It's actually been advanced beyond the foundations on the north wall. Grading continues. Actually, they closed up all the wall foundations since that fire commission meeting. They still have the interior foundations to continue with, but right now they've got all the wall foundations in, which is fantastic. We also talked about the fire truck financing. Carl Sender has tasked himself with coming up with some vendors that could potentially quote a loan for the truck. We hope to try to get that wrapped up before the end of the year so that this council can actually authorize that financing to continue. In terms of the forward look on the building, the public service building, we have building erection that was going to start today, but the rain held them back. The building demolition, if you've been by there, is not complete, but they put a pretty good sized dent into it. And as Tom mentioned, we've already moved out, obviously, before they knocked it down. That's really all I've got. The call volume, I think Tom mentioned, is pretty significant, and we don't know what to lay that off on, but it's been a very busy year. So.
Any questions?
John, does the fire department do written minutes?
Sorry, I have a
Does the fire commission do written minutes?
Do they what?
Do you put your minute?
No, they're recorded, Mary Lou, and if anybody
Okay.
wants to get the recording, they're welcome to it.
John, I can read much quicker than I can watch a show, and all the rest of us are required to write minutes. So I would think it would be in your best interest to have minutes for the fire commission.
We'll take that under advisement, Mary Lou. My understanding from Chris was that they're not required, so.
So I don't have to write minutes for the HR, and Deanna doesn't have to write minutes for this?
That's not exactly the case. You have to keep track and you have to be able to report to the public. So those written minutes, they don't have to be elaborate, but you do have to keep track of the proceedings.
Okay. We have agendas that are published every month, so we can
Okay,
put it-
Dr. Lemay does his minutes, I do the HR, the chief does that one. We have somebody for the BZA.
Okay, next is the Public Works report. Mary Lou?
The Public Works met on August 21st, and the old business was, we talked about the 5-year capital infrastructure for the plan, and that was Chief Swistek. We talked about the street department's old business is the CCMG. The water department, we are working on getting ready to upgrade everything on Lakeshore Drive. And we have an asset management plan that we're going to update for the streets department. And we will meet again on the 4th Monday of the month, September 25th.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, Park Board and Community Center, Joy.
I think she's on Zoom.
Evening, everybody. Parks and Community Center did not meet, so there will be no reports.
Thank you. That was quick. Budget and Finance, is Clerk Perry on?
He is.
Didn't I see him on there?
I did.
I was not able to refer to Mr. Wall.
Yeah, Budget and Finance meeting was held, and we discussed the numerous items. Again, we have the agenda we can refer to, but we also have a Budget and Finance working meeting scheduled for the 29th. Trista's been very helpful for our requirements in terms of the information that she's been sharing with us, and Laurel has been in attendance at those meetings and helped us a little bit too. So we hope to have for the October council meeting, some recommendations for the capital plan and what we can afford once we've, unless you want to speak to any of that. Trista, you're certainly welcome to.
Not as to the budget items tonight. You do have in front of you, the specifics, you do have in front of you tonight a packet of what's been advertised in Gateway. You'll see that the Form 1 are the the advertised expenditures. They are advertised high on purpose so that the committee and the council can then narrow back down to what the expenditure should be. We cannot increase our expenditures after it's advertised, but you may decrease them. So it's an art form really to advertise that a little bit high, to advertise the revenues conservatively a little bit low, so that you're protected in that event that revenues don't come in as predicted. But always we have had revenues come in higher than what we're predicting for you. So we do know that there's a cushion there, but we want to be careful on what we rely on that way. One thing I wanted to note as well then is the investment report. You have a copy in front of you at your table tonight. I'm sorry I did not get this emailed to you before the meeting, but in pulling the records from the bank, you'll see the result here of the investments that Clerk Perry has made. That's good. I'll let you jump in after that. I wanted them to see they had the paper in front of them. So please, sir, you may take over.
We invested a little bit of the town's money to take advantage of the high interest rates and market these days, and we're a little bit over $7,000 in earned interest income for our town funds.
Part of the water department also has been invested as well, and you'll see $3,000 in interest earned for their fund as well.
And it looks like most of these funds, the interest rates are between, 4.6 and 5%. So we're getting some decent interest, and that's obviously be very helpful. Any other questions?
No, but I wanted decent interest for short-term horizon.
Okay, thank you.
Do we want to, Chris, in terms of the budget hearing, then, do we want to hold that now, or if you got that on for later? Do we have to open a formal hearing?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to open a,
Have you advertised a budget hearing? Yeah, so you should open it in.
yeah, so that should be a little more formal than what we already did. We should.
Yeah, open the meeting as far as the budget is concerned, and I don't know how much more we want to go into it. It's just
We just have to provide an opportunity for anybody on Zoom and anybody in the room to comment for or against, I guess.
right. Does anybody? Probably not too many people's had a chance to look at it. Is what I'm guessing. So it's going to be hard for anybody to comment on it. We just got a copy of it. I just did today, so I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But on the October meeting is when we'll have a chance to go through it with much better detail. And like was said, it's budgeted high. There's room in there to cut, which of course we will in different areas. We got to make sure we stay within our limits. But conservatively planning the income and overstating the budget, that's a good way to do it. Then you can reach an equilibrium somewhere along the line. So does anybody else have any questions on that?
I just wanted to get a copy. Joy's not here tonight.
Yeah, we got some up here.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So Vice President Coker, if you would officially open the public comment session, please?
Yeah, the comment session is officially opened for comment. Does anybody have a comment? Does any of the council have a comment at this point?
The only comment I would make is that it's published on Gateway, which is the public access site where all this information gets submitted, and then, so it has been available since it was submitted to Gateway, I think.
Copies from this.
10 days ago.
10 days ago. So 10 days prior to this date, it was put on the Gateway site.
Okay.
Then we put a link to it on the website, perhaps.
No further comment? Public portion is closed.
Nobody online?
Yeah, 25 on Zoom.
Okay.
There's 20.
Anybody on Zoom have any comment?
Thank you.
Hearing none. Does anybody? Okay. Moving along. Human Resources.
Okay. One thing I got a message from somebody that's on Zoom, if we could remember to use the microphone and speak into it. So the Human Resource Committee met on Tuesday, August 29th, which was unusual, but the chief was gone for training last week, so we did that, and we are flexible. We posted it. And we are beginning to work on developing the 2023 salary ordinance. Mark is very good about letting us know what on the current surrounding employers are doing. LaPorte, Michigan City, and the county are looking at. He thinks that it is around 3 to 5% for merit increases. Keep in mind that we submit a budget to the state of Indiana and it must be approved too. He projects that the current COLA is about 3%, 2 to 6% low to high. I told the committee about employees approaching to have their improvements in the HSA since they have not an increase, but the deductibles have continued to rise. And I think we believe that Anthem is going to go up about 12% this year, which the employees pay 20% of the cost and we pay 80%. So I'm working on a project with the town employees who approached me. Mary O'Neill suggested that maybe we could tag on to LaPorte County since we are a small municipality to see if we could find a more reasonable health insurance plan, because normally if you have a bigger population, and we have, I would say we have between young and middle-aged and maybe some are older, and usually you can get a better rate. So Mark was going to look into that. He did comment that he is working with our insurance company to review those plans and what it would mean to our town. We also looked at review New Avenues quote. It's an employee assistance program, or EAP. Anthem is looking into our own policy to see what is covered. And usually for a full-time employee, you do have employee, I'm not going to use the acronym because most people may not know what that is. It's employee assistance program. So if I'm grieving for a loss, if I have an addiction, any of those type of things, that it helps. So we discussed also local options such as Samaritan Center and the Swanson Center, but it was also stated that most would like to receive treatment out of the area for privacy. And we looked at a couple things. If they were a part-time employee, that ad hoc basis would be $125 per visit per session. Council would have to approve that. We also had an employee who has quite a number of years with us about an improvement to PTO for employees over 30 years. So we will not meet again until Thursday, October 5th, unless we get some kind of urgency, and then we're flexible, we could meet sooner, but it will be posted on the web.
Any comments? Okay, thank you. Tree Board, Ellen?
I'm Ellen Lynch, 2225 Lakeshore Drive. Anyway, I'm the head of the tree committee. I thought we had an ordinance completed. Dr. LeMay and I had a couple conversations, but since I made that decision, we've come up with something else that we need to go over one more section of the ordinance. So I know it's on the agenda today to go over the ordinance. Can you wait another month?
Oh, so we'll table that?
Table it for another 30 days.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, Building Commission and BZA and Advisory Plan Commissions. Dr. LeMay, is anybody here to give it a report on those? I don't believe so. So we won't have a report on those areas.
Yeah, that's all right.
Building permits.
I don't. Well, that would be Tim, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Mayor. Building permits, your building permit report for August 2023 for apartments approved totaling $4,048,812 with revenue of $41,337. 4 electric permits issued totaling $487. 4 street cuts, 4 street cut permits issued with $400, not a deal. And I'll do them all together. Legal expenses in August, $7,434.50 to Brady Nelson and James. I'm sorry, that's total. Brady Nelson and James was $5,375. Barnes and Thornburg was $2,059.50. So I will entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve those.
Second.
You've heard the motion. Second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passed. Okay, unfinished business. First item on the list is the upgrades to the cloud. Who is going to talk about that?
So that has been a way harder process than anyone anticipated. It was told to us it would take like a week. The long and short of it is it's all done. We've had problems with the authentication. There's a 2-step authentication process now for everybody to sign on through computer and phone. So it's a little cumbersome, but it is safer. So the data is moved, the authentication is something that everyone's getting used to. And I would say we're going to Trista and Senator and kind of remote access to Civic, which is a big step for everybody. So the Senator doesn't have to come to the town hall to look at our civic information. So that's been a big time saver for them and us. So I would say it was a positive change, although a little more difficult than anticipated a little bit.
Have any other comments on that?
So we're good on it, Tim? Everything's good?
We're good, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next item is the Haas Engineering Lakeshore Drive Pressure Sanitary Sewer Force Main Project Update.
Is this the 6 people that are getting a sewer?
Yeah, the only other updates, I think at this point, I believe it's, the owners are in negotiation. There's been a couple, but I understand glitches, and they're in further discussion with the sanitary district and the city.
So this is nothing the town
There's
will...
nothing that we can do at this
Okay.
point.
Right.
Since the last meeting, I did meet with Attorney Wojcik and representatives of Haas just to start to discuss the agreement for the easement, but the ball's in their court when they're ready to move forward, that Mr. Wojcik's gonna propose, the initial draft of that. And I communicated the town's concerns and what you would likely require, and nothing since then.
But this is no cost to our residents, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, next item is the public safety building progress update, John?
Pretty much hit the high points on the progress in my prior comments, so I think I'll defer to Mark for the septic.
Back on Thursday, August 31st, I met here on site with LaPorte County Health Department Director Amanda Lanners, her assistant Julie, Louis with Jean's Septic Service. Louis is the individual that had installed last year the current Presby septic field that we have across from the town hall. And then also with our meeting was John McQuestion. John is a soil scientist with Soil Solutions, and we met to discuss the sanitary septic sewer needs for the new public safety building. During our discussion, we walked across the street. We had surveyed the current Presby system that was installed in 2022. We examined the current lift station that we have here at the town hall. We are very blessed to have a lift station that's a commercial grade. It has 2 submergible pumps that are inside the lift station, and then also we have a 1,000-gallon septic tank here at the town hall. We had a discussion about the future needs for the public safety building. During this discussion, Amanda had recommended to the town that we engage the services of Soil Solutions, Mr. John McQuestion, to allow John McQuestion to conduct the necessary soil borings that would be required for our pre-application to the state of Indiana, to also conduct the land survey and or contract that out, and that would be the survey of the property across the street. For Mr. McQuestion to handle the overall design of the project and all of the submittals to both the local health department and the state health department. So in essence, we would just liaison with Soil Solutions. They would be our vendor that would be making all of our submittals on our behalf. This was recommended by the health department because they are very familiar with working with Soil Solutions in the past, and they can give us the professional guidance to accomplish eventually getting our septic permit for the new building. Also, it was discussed that exclusively Amanda Lanners would, from that day forward, communicate with both the town attorney, Chris Willoughby, and myself as the town administrator. Any request on the town's behalf, we would coordinate the information, responding in a timely manner back to the health department. I am in the process of completing the pre-application, which the council has before them this evening. And I would like to take about 5 minutes here to just go through the pre-application here at the public meeting, seek any additional input from the council. My goal is to submit the pre-application tomorrow morning to the soil scientist, John McQuestion, who would then turn around and send our pre-application to the state of Indiana down in Indianapolis, the health department. He informed me that within 48 hours he should hear back on how many soil borings are necessary across the street. The goal is to no longer pursue temporary holding tanks at the public safety building. which initially we were looking at getting at least 2 or more holding tanks with capacity up to about 6,000 gallons. The tanks would have to be alarmed, and there was a bunch of other features that would have to have some engineering and other things done, but that would only be a temporary solution. So instead of doing the temporary solution for the best interests of the town and as a cost-saving measure, we need to look at long-term solutions for the new public safety facility. So therefore, Amanda and I agreed it's in the town's best interest that we no longer pursue that avenue and that we pursue an additional Presby system across the street within 10 feet of the current system. The state of Indiana allows you to put an additional Presby system beside the current. However, there has to be 10 feet of separation, is what I was informed during the meeting. There have been some questions about the parcels across the street. Who actually has ownership of the parcels? In recent weeks, we have learned from a county official that the town of Long Beach is in fact the owner of the parcels across the street. And that would be the property from the tennis courts directly east leading to the community center. We've been working with Attorney Willoughby. Him and I had a discussion. We actually looked at Beacon, and Beacon is now showing the town of Long Beach as the owners of that. We've also communicated that to the Country Club Holdings Company as well, and we've been in full communication with them. So therefore, the property where the current Presby system is actually is town of Long Beach property, and the adjacent property to the east, where we are proposing the additional Presby system, is also town property. On the pre-application that you have in front of you tonight, under project name, it's listed as Town of Long Beach Public Safety Building for Emergency Services. Project location, I have listed the new address of the public safety building, that being 2400 Town Court Road, Long Beach, LaPorte County. The applicant or agent for the town, I have listed myself with the address of 2400 Oriole Trail. You'll see I have my email address, my work phone number. Under the general project details, building is accessible 24/7 to emergency personnel. Then the next section is asking us for the number of employees at peak staffing, and is asking for first shift, second shift, and third shift. Our fire department is a total volunteer fire department. Therefore, on each of those categories, we have listed none because there is no staffing in the building. Fire department staff respond for emergency calls for service, to retrieve vehicles and equipment, and no police personnel will be working from that facility full-time. We will remain working here in the town hall in our current offices in this facility. Next question, are there shower facilities on site? I have checked yes. Frequency of shower use, no daily use, very seldom use by volunteer fire department staff. I investigated that further, and when asking the fire department staff have told me the only time they would probably use the showers is after a major fire, returning to the station, rinsing off prior to going home to their loved ones. Next question, are there washing machines on site? I have checked yes. If yes, they're asking for residential washing machine or commercial. I have checked commercial. Number of laundry loads per week, I have put down 1 per week. This morning, I had asked 2 fire department personnel when was the last time they used the washing machines in the current fire station. They tell me the last time the washing machines were used was April of this year after the Lakeshore Drive fire. So here we are, September, we haven't used a washing machine in the fire station since April. So I think 1 per week would be sufficient. At this, before I go on any further, are there any council comments, suggested changes to this? Again, my goal would be to make any amendments tonight, ask the council for a vote, and then I'll submit this tomorrow morning.
Is this a registered contractor?
Which one?
The one that we're doing this with?
Soil Solutions, I'll have to verify that, but before engaging him, I would ask him if he is not to register with the town.
And
I'm sorry?
why wouldn't we ask that before?
Well, I'm assuming he would register. It's just he was recommended as a professional services from LaPorte County, so. And he may be, I don't know.
I can probably look it up.
For commercial facilities with bedrooms, list number of bedrooms. I had listed no bedrooms. There will be no sleeping quarters in this facility. If customers have access to a restroom while at the business, provide the estimated peak customers per day and the average length of stay. I have listed occasional use during meetings, average of 1 meeting per week, consisting of 1 to 2 hours per meeting. Under the next question is provide a brief business narrative describing your purpose, project of the project or facility, and then list any examples. Building primary use is for the volunteer fire department, which have no full-time members. Building will store 2 fire engines, 1 fire rescue vehicle, 2 police vehicles, 3 ATV units, a police boat, and 1 police motorcycle. Majority of the time, the building will remain unoccupied until volunteer fire department staff respond for an emergency call to retrieve vehicles or equipment. Police department staff will continue to work from the town hall facility. Police department will store equipment at the facility, and no police staff will occupy the building for work space. Meeting/training room will host training for the fire department each Monday for no greater than 15 to 30 members per meeting. The meeting room will also host an occasional town meeting with attendance of 1 to 60 residents. Anticipated meetings of 1 to 2 per month. The meeting room will also be available for potential public use for approved purposes when approved by town officials. The meeting room has a kitchenette with a sink, electric range top, dishwasher, microwave, coffee maker, and refrigerator. No on-site food preparation will occur, primarily for hospitality use during meetings, for coffee, beverages, and light refreshments. So with that on the description portion, I know there's been some discussion amongst council members as to setting the occupancy for the meeting room. I have been informed that most meetings, as we see tonight, we have 3, 5, 7, 10, 13, about 15 people in the audience, and then probably another, let's say 10 here, so maybe 25 people at this meeting. I just need to know from the council, do you want me to increase from 1 to 60 and put 1 to 70, 1 to 80? I'm looking for some input from the council as I submit this tomorrow morning. And if any additional narrative should be added to the narrative section. This is probably the most important section that the State Health Department will be reviewing.
My suggestion on attendance or capacity for meetings would be we start at a low number and work our way up from that, because we really don't have any expectations. My recommendation would be something of 30 or less for a particular individual meeting. That'd be my suggestion. As we gain experience with it, if there's a need for larger groups, then we should address it at that time.
I believe the plans show that the community room capacity is about 100 or 104. Now, I don't think we're going to have 104 people at meetings very often, but I can see, depending on how contentious any type of issue is, you can get quite a few people at these meetings. So I don't want to see a low number, when we're spending $3 million on a building that we can't use, the public can't use. So I think we ought to be liberal on it, but I think we've got to be reasonable. And, you're only going to be allowed so many in there anyway by the fire codes and what the state says on their permits. So, I think we're pretty well, we're stuck with what the rulings are going to be from the health department. So
It's your phone.
So what was the name of that contractor?
Soil Solutions.
Okay.
So just to clarify with that number, whether it's 30 or whether it's 100, neither of those are going to be material. So as we have learned, and it's important, my advice, and as Mark and I have talked about, the goal is to get this approved and not kicked back. So adding it to show language in there that says there could be an occasional, you've had a couple in the last year that might have reached 100, right? 75 to 100. So there may be yearly up to 2. That's not going to be regular though. So we don't want to overrepresent, misrepresent any of those. So it's not going to hurt to say that there's an occasional capacity type meeting once a year, potential for twice a year, and then the average meetings could be 30 to 50 depending on the issue, but that's not going to be right.
I think the way Mark's got it set up is fine. It's just that if you have a meeting, we can't go over 100. I mean, that's just as simple as that.
That's every meeting.
Any meeting.
What's important for this is so that they can do their calculations,
right.
And there isn't any thought that the town hasn't represented the true intentions for that building, which is a public safety building overall. Also, as you consider this, I think it'd be appropriate for you to take a vote to authorize Mark to be your signatory, because he doesn't have authority under the code. So if you give him authority to sign it on your behalf, then he could submit it as well.
They
a motion to that
They are
effect?
not registered Soil Solutions. The other thing is, wouldn't that go under the cost of the building?
Soil Solutions is not a contractor, Mary Lou. He's an advisory engineer that takes a look at the site and does borings. It's not really a contractor per se, so I'm not even sure we need to worry about whether or not he's registered as a contractor. That's
Okay,
not what
well then I'll go back to my original thing. Doesn't this go under the cost of the building that we authorized?
I don't understand the question.
Question is, are we operating under a $3.1 million number, or is it 3.1 an additional $10,000? And then when the septic system comes in, is that more than the $3.1 million? Because my assumption has been that we approved a $3.1 million project.
As I stated at the prior public meeting when we authorized that 3.1, the septic system could likely be in addition to that. I stated that very succinctly and clearly at that last meeting. So I would suggest that the 3.1 was our budget based on what we anticipate, but it could come in less than that. The septic system situation will be defined after we do the engineering for that, which is what my question's going to be tasked to do if we authorize that this evening.
So in addition to the septic system, what else should we anticipate down the road that would be outside the $3.1 million?
Well, if I had a crystal ball for you, Mike, I'd look at it and try to determine that for you. But right now, let me define the crystal ball for you. It's not unlimited. We're not going to not have some sort of a cap on this project. And so as it relates to this, other items that come up, I'm just trying to get an idea, because you've already said that you told us about the septic system. I don't recall that, but it doesn't matter really. I mean, I believe you. But the reality of the matter is, whatever else comes up down the road that's outside the scope of the $3.1 million, I believe at that point in time we should maintain the 3.1, scale the project back somewhere, or find alternative funding for whatever that item happens to be. And I'd like that to make a public record here at our meeting today.
Okay, before we can do anything, I think we have to find out if we can put the Presby system in, and if so, how big or how small it's going to be. So in my view, we have to employ Soil Solutions to at least get the borings to find out what we're talking about. Because at this point, we can't do anything until we get some engineering on this to see what needs to be done. So I'd right now entertain a motion to employ Soil Solutions to do their due diligence, and I believe the chief indicated try to keep the cost under $10,000 amount. Chief, could you itemize what you think that $10,000 or less would be?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The soil borings themselves are approximately $250 each, so that is not to exceed probably $1,500. Land survey, they estimate at approximately $3,000. Overall design of the project, submittal to both the local health department and the state health department, could be anywhere from $3,500 to $5,000. In speaking to Mr. John McQuestion, he has assured me that the not to exceed amount of $10,000 would be an appropriate budget. My goal would be obviously to come in much under that, hopefully around $8,000, $8,500, but the $10,000 would be the not to exceed. And yes, again, getting back to Mr. Wall's comments earlier that, this is an environmentalist, a soil scientist that we would be hiring who works with the LaPorte County and state health department officials on an annual basis. We utilized his services previously for the Presby system that we now have. It's important that he is familiar with the current Presby system that we have, because when the state officials look at our application, they're going to take into account the current Presby we have. Thankfully for us, it's only 1 year old, so that is to our benefit, only that it's a 1 year old system. And then they're going to take all those things into consideration as they hopefully come up to a capacity, and then eventually issuing a permit to the town. Once we get capacity and the physical permit, then we can go out and receive an additional estimate from Louis at Gene Septic Service, or we can put it out to some other septic vendors to get an estimate of what the cost would be to do the work that will be indicated in the state's findings. So.
Okay, thank you. So I move that we employ Soil Solutions to undertake this survey at a cost not to exceed $10,000, as the chief
And who pays for
indicated.
that, John? Is that under the lease part, or is that the town?
You're asking me? I would think the town would pay for it. Somebody's got to pay for it.
Why wouldn't it go towards the cost of the building, the 3 point?
Well,
I thought we just had this discussion. Let's review it again. The septic system costs are in addition to what we already talked about in terms of the construction costs for the project. We made that very clear at our last meeting when we entertained the increase in the potential change order to get to the 3.1. So the $10,000 and any costs involved in whatever the new design for the septic system, we may be able to use the old tanks. We're not sure yet. After McQuestion does his work, then the county will review this information that Mark's going to submit in the morning. Then they're going to tell McQuestion what he needs to do in terms of borings, and then we'll proceed with that work. But that's included in the 10. As far as whether or not it's the town, I think everything we're doing is the town's responsibility. I mean, we decided we were going to build this project, and we're going to continue down that road, I believe.
so we can't do anything about the septic until we have the soil survey. So that's my motion. Is anybody going to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, now we want to discuss it further. Mike?
Do you want to have public comments before you do that?
I don't think we need public comments. This is a council decision whether you're going to employ them or not.
I mean, in general, I'm having a problem. I mean, I understand why we need a septic system. No septic system, no building. I get all that. And I believe you, John, that you brought this up as an issue prior to, that this was going to be in addition to 3.1. What I don't want to get into is suddenly we're looking at a $3.5 million project of other things that pop up going down the road, because you can't do that. We can't do that.
I appreciate your comments, Mike, but as you know, being involved in projects with other groups, it's very difficult to know precisely what's going to happen in the world in the coming 6 months. I don't anticipate anything else. We've all been aware of the septic situation. Some of us were involved in, I'm not going to go there, but let's just say that I don't anticipate anything significant beyond this, and we may come in less than that 3.1 if we do better than what we anticipated. And as you know, the fire department has decided to help with $50,000 as well. So it's the overall cap is a bit of a fluid process right now.
And I would just add to that, as you know, the 5-year capital plan was assumed to be 2.9 million and was done, the debt servicing was based on that figure. Am I correct, Trista? We have not increased that to 3.1 at this stage?
No, in fact, legally, you cannot increase. The financing has been set, the bonds have been sold.
I understand, but I'm just talking about revenue for debt servicing. If it was...
No, you're limited to what the bonds were.
All right, so we're already in excess of the 2.9, which we approved for this project, and that's the end of that story. So as far as I'm concerned, it's all well and good if it comes underneath 3.1, that'd be wonderful, but we should not go any further in terms of total expenses beyond the septic system.
Yeah, that's the intent, and as we've always said from the beginning, anything...
I understand. I understand.
Let me finish, Mike. We've always said from the beginning that anything that was going to be in addition additional cost was going to come before the council.
All right,
And that's
and we can approve it or not approve it.
That's exactly right. That's
Yes,
where we're at.
and I will go on record right now as saying any increase above the septic system, I'm going to vote no for.
Okay, that's fine. So we have a motion on the floor, I believe, Mr. Vice President?
Yeah, to employ Soil Solutions to find out what we have to do and what the parameters of this Presby system would be. And, you know, we have to have a decision on that. So we'll call for a vote. All in favor? I vote aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Mr. Chair,
Hold of them. And then we authorize, do we want to make a motion to authorize the chief to be the signatory on these documents?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, getting back to the narrative section, just for clarification, am I adding about an occasional 1 to 2 meetings a year, not to exceed 100 in attendance, or am I leaving this as is with will host an occasional town meeting with attendance of 1 to 60 residents, just for clarification? I just want to make sure I have it right going to the state.
I think you can leave it as is. They have the plans. They know what the capacity is, so that's been a continued conversation. So there won't be anything, the plans are going to be part of what you
Yes.
attach, so.
Yeah, it'd be, you know, it could be possibly up to 100, but,
And you're noting, if you, the capacity is noted, and it's part of the plans, so.
Right.
The accurate plans are what's before them now to be considered with the updated application.
And then on the back side of the document you have in front of you, under wedding venues, event centers, under section 5, what I had completed there is that the meeting/training room estimated for 60 patrons, with additional information in the comment section on page 1. This isn't, you know, a wedding venue or an overall event center. However, there are questions on here where they ask, will there be a kitchen where meals will be prepared from scratch on site? I have checked no. Then also, will meals be catered and prepared off site? I have checked yes. So in other words, if they brought pizzas in from outside for a meeting or something. And then, will dishes, glasses, or flatware be cleaned on site? I have checked yes, because there will be a dishwasher inside the facility. I just thought that was appropriate. Churches, religious facilities doesn't apply to us, restaurant and or campgrounds. So that is it on page 2. With that, I thank you for your support. I will get this amended and submitted to Mr. McQuestion in the morning. I will also ask that he keep us updated after he submits it to the state of Indiana.
thank you, Chief. Next item is the invoice to Yellow Bear Farms LLC, the reimbursement for Haas's services. I understand the town has paid for some of those services, but that Yellow Bear Farms is supposed to reimburse us. Have we secured all the invoices on that, Tim? And are we making sure we aren't missing any so the town gets reimbursed for their costs on this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we did send out the invoices, and that's right, we should be getting our reimbursement, yes.
Mr. Coker, I spoke to their attorney today, dealing with their pending application before the building commission. They've received it, and it's on their radar, so it's working as it's supposed to.
Okay, so all the invoices have been submitted. We haven't missed any.
As far as I know.
Okay.
Okay.
They were prepared by my office, copied the attorney will be and sent out last week.
Okay, great.
Okay, John, according to the real person in charge, Deanna, we didn't vote on the last thing.
On the...
We didn't finish voting.
You did vote on authorizing.
Okay.
Mark, you did. It was unanimous.
No, it wasn't.
To have Mark sign the
Oh,
document?
that was unanimous, yeah. Okay, perfect.
You voted.
Yeah, I thought we did.
Okay.
Okay, CCMG payment confirmation. Is that Tim?
Is that you, Tim?
And that's, well, I think it's me, and that's some of the time, I'm sure. It was paid to confirm, $61,497.50 was paid on August, and $233,735.01 was paid on August 18th.
Just, I want to remind the clerk as well that the paperwork for that, I think Haas was going to be able to advise you on it, Tim, but we also have some paperwork that has to go into the local NDOT office to accompany all the final billing. So they needed a copy, I believe, if I recall correctly, they needed a copy of our checks that went out in the last billings. And if you have any questions, we can get you together with Sam with Haas, but we do need to get that paperwork submitted to the NDOT office, because that's where we fell down a couple of years back. We didn't submit the final paperwork in a timely fashion, and then we were not able to make a CCMG application to come in the following year. So hopefully, if you would chase that, please, so that we get that paperwork to the right people.
John, why don't I confirm that with Sam tomorrow? I'll ask you after I talk to him.
Thanks.
You follow through on that?
John, just so I know, what do you need?
CCMG is an NDOT funded situation.
I know that, just what do you need? So that we,
Is this the Kindler General, Mary Lou? What we need is paperwork that goes to NDOT about the CCMG project that includes a reimbursement from the town for any funds that weren't spent. In addition to that, you have to certify the checks that went out to the contractors, and I believe there's some certification paperwork that Haas has to sign and that Tim has to sign that has to go to the CCMG office at NDOT.
okay, got it.
Okay, we got that cleared up, I hope. Next item is restating of the tree ordinance that we all already tabled on that for till next time.
And we tabled the next one.
And the ordinance restating the, for the leaf charges, Mary Lou said we're gonna table that also, so. MS4 ordinance draft suggestion. Larry Wall had mailed us, Chris.
He sent it out. I will, anything you have, will take it back to the building commission, but ultimately it'll be something that comes back through the APC and for
I don't
approval.
have anything.
So if you don't have any comments, if you haven't seen, I'll resend. But
I haven't
Larry
seen
did
it.
send a global, he sent it out, but I'll make sure that I
Okay,
get it. It's something that's required. It is pretty voluminous.
Okay.
It's pretty canned in terms of not much leeway, but I'll make sure that everybody has a copy again, because the building commission and APC are gonna wanna get that done.
Okay, on our new business, we have a award bid, Lakeshore Drive Water Tap Improvement Project, Woodruff. Did we accept that bid? $699,000, or should we?
Well, right now, what's happened to date is the bids were analyzed by the contract, or rather the engineer Haas. I believe it went to Chris. If Chris didn't have any objections to it, then we can award it this evening.
That's right. I had a chance to review. They sent everything over, including the lowest bid that they recommend. They sent their recommendation over to you, so subject to mine, so you can.
So we can approve it, John.
Okay, so we have to take a motion to approve the low bid then of Woodruff for what, $699,000 thereabouts?
what, 699?
Well, 696. It's a little less than 700,000.
Okay,
So do I have a motion to approve that?
I make that motion.
Right here, a second.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Okay, Lakeshore Drive Stop 17 and 18 Stormwater Improvement Project. They got an addendum on that. We're postponing the bid. Opening is set for a special meeting date of September 25th at 7:00 PM. Did everybody get notice of that? I think that's going to be put in the paper.
Yeah, that's the bid submittal date. We don't necessarily have to act that evening. The point is, we're going to accept the bids at that night. I'm sorry, the bids will be submitted on that with that as the deadline, we still have the opportunity to review them and decide whether we're going ahead with the project. So this will give us numbers for that project, essentially, is what we're doing right now. So it's not even, I don't think it's got to even be a formal whole council meeting as far as I know.
Well, unless everybody's going to show up. But you may want to keep that date if it's on everybody's radar, given your timing, in case you might need a special meeting for other matters, as you tend to do. So you need to advertise it if you're going to have a majority of the council show up for those.
So is this the part about Safar Risby?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question. A lady that I know used to live where he did, and she had an agreement with the town, and that they gave access to get rid of the stormwater. So why are we doing all of this and diverting it? I have some trees I'd like to be cut down on my property. Why are we doing this? Why are we spending $700,000?
We don't even know what the number is yet, Mary Lou. The 700,000 is for the water project. You're a little bit confused here.
No, I'm not confused. I know the original part was 400. It could go to 700.
I don't understand the question at all. What's your question?
Okay, my question is, why are we doing this?
Okay, I'll answer that for you. We've been talking to the adjacent property owners, and in addition to that, we have been reviewing the engineer's information for what's a significant drainage problem in the Stop 17 and 18 and 19 area for probably at least the whole 3 years that I've been on the council. So we've done a couple different iterations. At one point, we came up with a plan that was unacceptable to the private property owner whose property our current drainage line goes through. There's a risk to the town in terms of liability if we don't abandon that line. Right now, if that line were to break, then that water would wind up flooding the adjacent homeowner's property. So we felt it incumbent on us to go ahead and review that situation. We did that. We made one proposal. He did not want us to proceed with that. So we decided we'd take a look at a different avenue. So we employed Haas Engineering with the council approval to go ahead and engineer a new solution, which we've done. We have that out for bid right now so that we can determine what the actual numbers would be. And you're right, they did have some projected numbers that ranged from 400 to 800,000.
Yeah, I do.
So in terms of your question, though, the reason we're doing this is because we have drainage issues in the town. The whole reason behind coming up with the stormwater fund was that we would address drainage issues in the town.
Is Mr. Risby on?
Are you going to interrupt me again, or do I get to finish?
No, John, you can finish.
Okay. So what we did then was we instructed Haas, with the approval of the council, to engineer a solution for what is a significant drainage issue, one of the biggest significant drainage issues we have. The entire Moon Valley area back there up the hill drains into that area, as does the water that comes from 19 and 17 and 18, in addition to what comes down the hill right at 18. So there's a current situation there that we're trying to improve so that we can no longer have the drainage issues that we have in that area. So that's the logic behind doing it.
So what will it do to Stop 18?
What will it do to Stop 18?
If you divert it all down there?
Well, right now, Stop 18 is the sump for the area. Anything that happens, Tim had a movie that he took when there was a significant rainfall a few months back. There's a significant amount of water that comes into that area without the benefit of drainage structures anywhere along there that are functioning properly. So this new solution includes new drainage structures that will allow the water to dissipate before it gets to Stop 18. So the plan for this operation is to reduce the amount of water that goes to Stop 18. It will involve some remanufacture of the area that is encompassed by Stop 18 with some new drainage structures and potentially a little bit more rock to break up whatever does have to go down there. But the intent with this whole project is to reduce what winds up going down there. So that it's an improvement in the situation all the way around.
Vice President Coker, just for the public's information, in front of you, there's a document from Haas and Associates that shows that in the clerk's office, for the public's information, the project manual and the drawings for this particular project are available for review at the clerk's office. They were dropped off about a week ago. So they're pretty big. We can't make copies, but if anybody would like to review them, they are on file at the clerk's office.
What I'd like to do too, just for public information, once we get the numbers in, if we think it's affordable, we have X number of dollars in the stormwater fund currently. We can anticipate this project being done within a time frame. We've given them a fairly liberal time frame with the idea that we can reduce the costs. Once we get that information in hand, then we can project out whether we will have indeed enough wherewithal in the stormwater fund to afford the project.
Yeah, if it comes in at a high number, we probably won't have enough money this year, but we get another draw next year, and hopefully then there would be enough money in there, so. It all depends what the bids come in at.
Right, and we all decided we were going to go ahead and do that bid process so that we could figure out where we were with the anticipated cost.
Okay, so everybody go ahead.
The clerk's office contacted Haas Engineering, and we have a PDF version of that proposal. Anybody wants a copy of that, they can email me, and we will send it to them. Or again, as Chief Schoolstack said, they can do it for discussion in my office, and we will allow them to review the copy that we have on my desk.
Right, and then once we get the prices in and we decide whether or not we want to go after it, we can have a public information session and explain the project in a little more detail for whoever wants to be there.
Okay, very well. Okay, next item is invoice number 21837 for Knight Hop Carrick and Knight, approved for payment on the Osborne litigation that had been going on for the last 4 or 5 years.
Longer than that,
Long time.
before our time.
Yeah, I know. So, do I hear a motion to approve that?
How much is it?
It's under $500.
Okay.
So just to clarify, this particular invoice and lawsuit is because there were parallel or sister lawsuits, one filed prior to the end of a calendar year that was worded such that it took it out of insurance coverage. So the reason you're seeing an invoice from the law firm that normally represents the town, who's retained by your insurer, your carrier, is because the town had to pay because it wasn't the lawsuit was not covered. The claims that were set forth in that, but by virtue of resolving all these matters as of late and contractors being paid, the lawsuits have been, lawsuit dismissed. The other one is pending or moot before the BZA now. So all of those matters that just about 4 years ago when the process started to resolve them have come to fruition.
Yeah, so it's $527. Your motion to approve that?
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is Holiday Construction Group invoice number 5 to approve for a payment of $128,572.31.
Is that towards the amount that's in the
Be the
bank?
5th draw
Okay.
against the bond.
Okay.
Any other discussion on that? Do I hear a motion to approve the payment of invoice number 5?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approved. Next, we have Haas Engineering invoices for payments for approval. Looks like a $5,009, I better put my glasses on, $5,091.74 for work on stops 17 and 18 project, and $7,213.30 for the water service project. Any discussion on those? Do I hear a motion to approve those 2 invoices?
So moved.
Hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Okay, next item, building commissioners, August hours billed to the town. Payment for approval. I think what it sounds like we need from the building commissioner, what I understand with council and our CPA, we need a contract for his services, which we do not have since he's an independent contractor. And is that true? We need a contract? Is that what our financial people tell us?
We do need to get the contract established if there is not one in place yet.
Right.
just as you do for other services that are performed.
So I would suggest possibly Larry and Chris get together and discuss that and work out some sort of arrangement so the town can look at it, council can look at it. See if
I'll have one ready. We'll just mirror something very similar to what we did with the interlocal agreement with the county.
yeah, okay.
I would also suggest that we have an itemized billing like you do. Like if you talk to me for 25 minutes or whatever, we get it by the minute. And then down here it says 198 calls, reviewed and approved permits, reviewed and approved registrations. I would think we would need a log like we have with the employees. And I can't imagine paying a contractor something if we don't have an itemized bill.
I will prepare a contract and propose, and you guys can hack it up and give some feedback.
I would appreciate that because I really feel that's very important, especially for record keeping.
Okay, next item, Election Day, November 7th. There's a request by the, I assume, County Election Board to utilize the community.
Need to kill some microphones. We're driving this.
Get your...
Oh, wait a minute.
Mine's off.
John, are we paying that invoice even though it isn't itemized?
Well, we're not paying it till we have a contract, right? Is that...
That's what it,
So we will not pay that invoice till we have a contract. Thank you.
Election Day.
Time out. We've been paying those invoices forever. Are we saying we're going to renege on what we've told him we were going to pay him?
We are not going to renege on anything, John.
There's going to be a special meeting within, what's today, the 11th, and within 2 weeks. Well,
We've been paying him under this.
you guys can do whatever you want. Your accountant has said what you need in place.
That's right. That's news to everybody that we need to have a written contract, which is fine. There was a movement afoot to make an employee. He was on the salary ordinance for the last few years. As far as whether or not there's actually a contract in place, we've been paying him based on the amount that was agreed upon, and we've been paying him for years. So to say that we're not going to pay, that we don't have a contract in place is a little disingenuous, Chris, because if you exchange monetary remuneration based on an agreement.
Hey, do not direct it to me.
I'm not directing this to you.
I'm trying to advise you. Your accountant is trying to advise you. If you want to vote to pay him subject to the contract being in place, but I am not going to advise you to pay something that is out when you have the opinion from the accountant that the State Board of Accounts wants to see that. You can approve whatever you'd like. Our opinion.
I might suggest that we approve.
And John, you can't vote on that because it's a conflict of interest.
Wait, time out, everybody. You know, we're gonna have a meeting on the 25th. By then, I assume Chris and Larry can get something hammered out. And at that point, you know, Larry's gonna get paid one way or the other. He just may not get paid.
He's going to get paid, okay? But we need a contract and we need, like you would bill anybody.
Okay, so back to Election Day. Any objections to having the election board utilize the community center gym for election? Any objection, anybody?
No.
So it's okay? So, Mark, can you so advise the election board they can use the gym?
Yes, sir, I will contact them. Thank you.
Asset management plan for the CCMG, that's tabled to September 25th, correct?
Yes.
And I think Mary Lou touched on the employment assistance program.
She did earlier during the HR report. My request to the council tonight is that we have a potential need for the employee assistance program and therefore do not have a current plan in place. I would ask for the support of the council to allow me to engage the services of New Avenues, which is located in South Bend, Indiana. You have received about 2 weeks ago, and again, just for informational purposes, I shared the information tonight, or I'm sorry, this afternoon with you for tonight's meeting. You'll see that each visit per employee would be $125 per visit. There's some other options on Exhibit A of other services that they're offering. The only services that I would ask for the town to engage in currently would be the individual employee counseling or coaching sessions at $125 a visit. And I would ask for a budget of no greater than $2,000 to allow this opportunity, if needed, for an employee in need of services so that we can offer these counseling sessions in the immediate future until we have a permanent plan in place.
Okay, so I have a question or public comment. I know this happened about 10 days ago. I am the committee chairman for the HR group. To this date, I still don't have any documentation or any conversation on what happened or why we're doing this. And for our own records and to protect us against any liability, I think as a bare minimum, you don't have it and I don't have it, and neither does the town attorney. So I would suggest that we have some kind of written documentation. And then I would be happy to support this anyway, but I don't like it that we don't have documentation. It's all secretive. And I was not included in that special meeting, which was about human resources.
On my behalf, there is documentation from the executive session that was held with the building department. In fact, during that session, I had in fact read from the typed up document that I had shared with all the commissioners. Commissioner Coker was present during that, and actually you'll recall that I had read from the script that I had in front of me. The individual counseling session with the employee, I was not a part of. I was away at training that particular week. So everything I have done on this to date has been documented on my behalf.
And so could I have a copy of that, please?
You're more than welcome to have a copy of my documentation.
So you make a motion, Mary Lou, to...
I make a motion to approve this, but I would also like us to follow up. That's a liability to the town. If we don't have proper documentation on what happened, it's a lawsuit.
Well, I think we do, but...
Well, okay. Do you want to head up the HR committee?
Not me.
Okay.
That's your
wanna do the
responsibility. No.
Okay. So I made a motion to approve this.
Second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Oh, what we approving to employ...
We will not to exceed a $2,000 budget for the employee assistance program if the person chooses to receive it.
Also, I need authorization to sign this contract with New Avenues, which was shared with all of you earlier today, outlining the services that they offer and also the pay schedule that is present on that.
And that's $125 a session?
That is correct. Under Exhibit A, it has all their cost analysis on the back.
Okay. That's if the employee chooses to accept it.
Correct, but before we offer these services, I need to have the services in place so we can offer them.
And that's because, just for the public, that's because if they were a full-time employee, it's covered under our Anthem policy. So I made a motion.
Okay. And Mike seconded. Okay, any other discussion on this? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
Signatures.
Meeting is now open to public comment. Anybody the public have any comment about anything? Yeah, we gotta, let's wait a second. Let's see if anybody on Zoom have a comment. Sometimes we shortchange them. Anybody on Zoom have a public comment?
Yes, this is, I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I think we had the discussion about 1718 for the public record. I'm discussing it for the last 9 years. I was made several promises from the council that this will be taken care of it. And I have come through beginning of this year and I gave them a deadline that it must be this year. For the record, I just want to make sure So I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that. Previously, yes, we continue to say that we have given options. An option was that was RIP, dig a hole in my backyard and put the water in my backyard in the back. How many of you like that option? I think this is ridiculous because running my basement upstairs it cost me $60,000 to fix that basement. And if this happened again, I will have no choice to take that action which is required by under the law. And I was very patient with this thing. It looks like I'm the bad guy. But this council, since he continues to make promise and never keep it, they continue to lie and tell us no information to the public, which is not true. And I have documentation to prove it. So please stop this and get it done before we end up in a situation where we have no return. And thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on Zoom from anyone?
My name is Mike Coffey. My wife and I own a property that would be 2204 Oakville, across the street from Dr. LeMay. And I thought that this was covered in a previous meeting, but I don't really go on. Years worth of objectives online, and I didn't see it. I wanted to see if there was any update on the deer situation. I know there were a number of proposals put forward. I'm not aware that the consensus was reached, but I'm really hoping that someone is trying to come up with a plan. My uncle cousin owned a house back there in 2208. That was the last time, about 7 o'clock, there were at least a dozen deer between his lot and mine, going around those flowers and things like that. I also seen 1 or 2 deer carcasses on the side of Carmel Road, and as someone who's very much not a fan of this way, the deer wandering around a mile, I really hope that the village is putting together some kind of a plan to deal with the situation one way or the other. So, that's something that's all.
Thank you. Any other comments on Zoom? How many people are on Zoom? Can you tell? How many people?
26 people.
26.
Okay, hearing no further Zoom participants. Yes. Turn it on and give your name and address.
Hi, my name is Tim Gein, 2305 Oakenwald. First, I want to say thank you. We finally got the brickwork on the column at Hazeltine fixed, so it looks great. Second, just maybe for transparency, Gateway's a little hard to navigate. If we could maybe have some of the documents that you all referenced, today, just put a link online, and we could just maybe look at them before we come to the meetings. Just as a request. Yeah, and then the budget, and then there were a couple things. Tim Perry referenced PDF. That could just link to it online, and we can just take a look at it. Just okay, thank you.
What did
He referenced? It was a big. Yeah. Just some of the documents that you all referenced that we can look at them later, but it'd be helpful if we could look at them before. All right, thank you.
Now, I'm not really good at putting it online, but I'm good at getting it to you.
Now that you're all in the cloud, it's easy. So thank you.
And Anita?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chief Swistek, for the detailed septic update. Rather than continuing to float misinformation around the town that is repeated to me often, you were very precise and concise. I suggest that the minutes be simply a transcript, especially on such a divisive matter as the septic that seems to circulate around town as being compared to Long Beach Country Club without a permit. I mean, it just goes on and on, as recently as 2 days ago with me. And I won't name names. Ms. McFadden, I know you say some people, this person, you'll get somebody documents. Mr. Guillen simply said, can they be put online? He's not asking you to do it. Minutes are only as good as the individual preparing them, and they do often reflect the recording secretary's interpretation regarding exactly what to reflect in the minutes. So my suggestion again that I made last month was that we do have a court reporter at this meeting, simply prepare a transcript and do the whatever opening documents you need, and that will take care of that. My other comment is, I'm not sure why you decided to open this meeting with civility and respect and all of that. I think if we go back years, there were examples of you shouting out in the, in the audience to, Bob LeMay, speak up, but I thought it was offensive to Mr. Coker tonight, who's chairing this meeting. Thank you. You were talking over him. You were texting constantly. So where's the transparency, and who's texting you, and where's the civility? You were argumentative. You were interrupting, and apparently you were on fire tonight, because it was pretty constant, and it makes it hard to watch a meeting. So you might want to go back and look at this meeting and see what you looked like during this meeting. And better government does call for civility and transparency from everybody. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sam Duthoy, also 2305 Oakenwald Drive, and my questions revolve around the street sweeping. Do we own a vehicle? How much is that vehicle worth? Do we use it? If we don't use it, should we sell it? What's the schedule? That's it.
Wait, can he answer that? John?
We do own a vehicle.
Okay.
And
when's the last time it was used?
We could increase the frequency. I'm not sure.
When was the last time it was used?
I'm not sure what issues you guys are having, but if you have an issue and you needed it, then we can probably talk to the street superintendent, who's a very cooperative guy.
Okay.
And try to increase the frequency. I think they have certain times of the year when they try to do it. You probably won't see it out now because of the leaf pickup and all that, because it's just awful tough to pick all that.
But I haven't seen it for 5 years.
Well, if you think you haven't seen the street sweeper in 5 years, you haven't been paying attention, because he does use it. But if you do have a situation where you think you need something done, in a local situation, we can talk to him about that.
Yeah.
If you want, the Public Works meeting, Mark rides herd over the Public Works guys, so we can, request him to do it more often. We can get a schedule from him. But yeah, we do own it, and we do use it. But
okay.
Again, if it's something localized where there's something that you want to take care of.
We just live down a big hill, and every time there's a huge rain, all the sand comes and it clogs up the newly dug sewer things or whatever they are, the holes.
Right.
So it's counterintuitive. It just blocks it all up, and we have water this high in our street.
Yeah. So he also has a new piece of equipment called a hydro excavator. So on all of our new structures, he goes around periodically and cleans all those.
Okay.
So we got both of those ends covered. But yeah, if there's a situation that develops, you just let somebody know and we can try to get him out.
Who do I call?
The guy's name is Tom Dolph. But if you wanted to call this,
Call him.
I'll email him.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, anybody else?
Oh, there's somebody out there.
Go ahead.
Jay Cole, 2211 Richard Drive. Is there a master plan for repaving of any of the streets? I've talked to Chief Swistek about this, that certain alleyways, certain back streets have been paved in mine in the past. And now today I was going down Lakeshore Drive, and there's a patch of Lakeshore Drive that has been paved, repaved, but others like going into town 24, definitely needs repaving. What is the schedule for running? Where can we see that?
Okay, John's going to answer that question.
So, Mr. Kroll, we have been implementing what's called a community crossing grant program that comes from INDOT. And what we do is we have to analyze all the streets in the town based on their condition. And then we authorize the engineer to come up with a plan, and then NDOT helps us with $75 to every for every $100 that we have to spend. So we've been doing that for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and we aren't able to pave anything that's not a dedicated right-of-way street. If it's an alley, we can't pave that with the CCMG funds. So what we did this year is we tried to pave some of those alleys with our own town funds while the contractor was on site. So if you have a street that you'd like to have added that's not on our list of streets to be paved, then I think you've probably had some, if I'm not mistaken, you've had some conversation with the chief. So we'll try to get that accomplished as soon as we can, but we're limited somewhat by whether or not it's a dedicated street. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure.
Absolutely, it totally answers my question, and I have had a conversation with Chief Swift's department. So I'm not concerned particularly about mine. I'm more concerned about a lot of the public streets that you refer to that are governed by, now, I don't know what department of streets, but like, you know, I was this little patch of Lakeshore Drive page between 24 and 23 when the street leading to your meeting room is in total disarray and should have been paved.
Yeah, I don't disagree. There are still some streets in the town that need attention. Some of that planning involves other projects. So when we have storm projects that we need to do, we don't like to pave the streets until we get the storm structures in place. So for instance, Lakeshore Drive has the Stop 1718 project. We also have other drainage issues all along Lakeshore Drive that we want to address. More than likely, Lakeshore Drive will be paved sometime in 25 or 26 because we need to get the engineering done and get those storm projects accomplished while we do the CCMG work. So that's why you see some streets that haven't had the attention that we'd like to give them. And again, we're limited with funds. Even with the 75-25, we've done a couple of $1 million years, and then the town has to come up with, you know, roughly around $500,000 by the time you pay the engineering. So we are limited a little bit with funds, but we do intend to keep moving down the road, and we do analyze all the streets for condition. So that's how we plan all that out.
I know what you're saying, John, but again, I hate to reiterate what I said. There's this small patch of Lakeshore Drive between 24 and 23 that has been repaved. Not all of Lakeshore Drive between 23 and 24, just a small patch.
Yeah, that was done because...
I don't remember that patch being, because I drive that patch, you know, often. I don't remember that patch being in desperate need of paving.
That was a drainage situation there, Mrs. Kroll. So what we tried to do is get that puddle reduced that was sitting in front of about 2 or 3 houses over there. So we had the contractor on site, so we decided to try to include that in some of the additional work that we did. So again, we try to prioritize these projects and do them as we can afford to do them. So that was just a small project that was done in anticipation of future work on Lakeshore Drive.
Okay. You done? Anybody else? Mr. Boyce?
Bob Boyce, 2926 Lakeshore Drive. I'd just like to make a short comment on what we're going to be doing at Stop 18. While it's good intention, and I do question the wisdom behind it, making that stop into a water retention pond, which is a natural beach stop, is going to, I did some calculations, and 1 inch of rain in 1 hour, using 550 foot, which will go to 17, and 50 foot wide, if all that water is diverted into that stop and into that pond, even Haas has designed a spillway to take any overage and dump it onto the public beach. And that's right on the prints. Now, that isn't so much my concern if it was fresh water. But you're gonna get off the hillside pesticides, herbicides, and because it's a street, you're gonna get residual gas, you get residual oil, antifreeze, road debris, all this is going to be diverted into this pond. And the water table there is high. So you can't compress water. It's going to seek its own level, and whatever is sitting there that it can't absorb will either migrate to the beach or it'll turn into a mosquito pond. Now that's a public stop, and people in the neighborhood use it. So while it's well-meaning, and it's going to serve the purpose for a couple of people there that have problems with water, it may not be the best solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
I live at Stop 18 too. And,
Yeah, come up to the microphone.
I live at Stop 18 too, and you know, we've had issues in our backyard, but nothing that we couldn't handle. But one thing I do know is that one single storm can dramatically change the topography. And it's very frightening already, the amount of water that's been diverted to that's new. It really is like something. Have you guys been down there when there's been a storm or something? I've never seen anything quite like it. And I have no idea who has done these surveys, who's come up with this plan, but I hope we're all being very, very careful, because I mean, the erosion that could occur there, again, I am far from a professional, but the erosion that could occur very quickly. I mean, it's stunning what one single storm could do. I think we all know that. And the erosion that could occur, just let's please be very, very careful, because it'll be impossible to restore if we lose something, you know? That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Have any council? Yep, somebody? Who? Okay. Go.
Very bus stop, 1802 Lakeshore Drive. So I wasn't going to say anything, but I will say this. Back in 1993, which I don't know how many of you guys were around here then, but in 1993, my backyard was all but washed into the lake. And I called the town back then, and they said, we don't have any money to help you out. We can't do anything. I took pictures and little meetings, and I raised a bunch of, stuff on it, and they said, can't help you. So I was given a permit to repave the public road, which is what it is, everybody calls it my driveway, but I was given a permit to repave the public road, which was next door to my house, and put in drains that went under the public road to save my home from flooding and washing away. And for the tune of about $15,000 in 1993, I did that. And it fixed the problem. So now, fast forward to 2017, Parks decides to take away the road and turn it into a 70-hour beach grass parade. That's okay. That's what they decided to do. It's the town plan, so it's obviously your prerogative. And now we're going to, I think we're going to dramatically change or take out what the Parks Department spent $70,000 to do to reap all water from 17 and over by 19 all the way down to 18. So as Mr. Torme said a second ago, it gets a ton of water already, and it's way better than it was back in 93 before I put in the drains, which are still used by the town at this time. But now when we burn all the water down to 18, it will dramatically change that beach for the people who live around 18 and who use it, and it will likely flood my home. And I know another individual on this call said, there may be bad consequences for the town legally speaking. Well, if my home floods because of this $400,000 or $500,000 or $600,000 project we're doing, we'll be talking about the same thing. I'm not going to sit back and be too happy when my house washes away with problem that I mitigated by myself on my own dime all those years ago. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, let me add this comment. The difference between that is
The town is using my property. Town would have their fire come to my property without my permission, without using any business, or without anything creating, and violation of my property law, violation of Indiana law, and using that property and diverting that property from my property. And in case of stop 18, stop 19, the town will be in their own property, not my property. I have property right. And this property right, as mentioned, is going to be flooded on that on stop 18. So can you imagine that happening to me from last 9 years? And if now everybody is saying it's going to come to their property, which I appreciate that. But at the same time, I'm suffering at least from last 9 years. And continues don't make me promise and never keep their promise. And they have to find some solution to it. I will not authorize and find any longer traffic in my property. And with not a stop, I will hire somebody and put the fire. And then you can do me and I can do you and we can go home. But you are unauthorized to use my property and there's no way I will let you use that fire to my property anymore. Period. And that's not what's happening. I've been very trying to I have offered every solution in the last 9 years, but none of those solutions were accepted. I have emailed to show that one time I authorized and to do it together, and we accepted this proposal, and the town said, I can say some names if I do not want to marry somebody, said, no, we're not going to do that. And I, even after one time, the easement, and I was told, no, we're not going to do that. And now, since my basement was flooding, due to the water consistently blocked, and it was overflowing the almost tank, and it was overflowing in the lake to drive. I even have a photo to show, which I sent into Mr. Wall and Mr. LeMay and everybody, that water is overflowing in the lake to drive because the pipes are blocked on the other side of the beach, and it's going to my basement. And this is really the result of the whole situation. And then I was told that we are going to extract money from and we are going to fix it. And then that was happening. So I will argue that you are the one who pushed me to so far. I am requesting from last 9 years. So regardless of stop 18, stop 19, or stop 24, I want this water to go away from my property. And wherever you would like to take it, please go ahead and take it. It's not my problem.
Okay, thank you, Zafar. We understand your problem, and on the 25th or whatever, there will be a meeting to see how much this is all going to cost, and I think we'll have a better idea what we're going to do at that point. Any other council comments? Approval of claims, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, count checks, 20069 avoided. The next one, 20146, total $435,434.79. Water checks number 54770 to 54799, totaling $177,099.65. August payroll, which includes summer camp, $90,557.51. I would entertain a motion.
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.